Many years ago, I was in the garden route, staying in a small little inn, and I started chatting to the lady opposite the table, and she was quite, black and white type of person, where I'm maybe a bit more of a grey person. And it got to this point of, why do things happen? Why do you surf? Why do you choose winemaking, or does it choose you? She basically said, no, it's just bollocks. If things happen, it's pure chance. There's no coincidence or synchronicity or providence. It doesn't work. And she, just for every example I had, she had a counter argument. Then we got talking about this guy, this Lyle Watson guy. I said to her, I wish I was this Lyle Watson guy. He's amazing. He writes all these books about this. And they're so informative and they're so freaking interesting. And I was using an example from his one book and an example from his other book. And she was laughing it off. And then in the end of the evening, the guy was sitting next to me that I hardly had anything to say. A very unassuming, quiet gentleman just sitting there, kind of cleared his throat, and he said, well guys, I don't know if this is going to mean anything to this discussion, but what's the chance of me being Lyle Watson sitting right here at this table right now? And we all laughed, like, yeah, imagine that. And he's like, well, I'm Lyle Watson, man. And go check the guest register. And we did, and he was. And here he was. So why do I surf? Why do I make wine? I must go and ask Lyle Watson. I don't know. It just happened. It's, meant to be.
Those nights wasted on the speed of sound, I still think that I just might come around for one more.
People sometimes ask me about the preparations, all the crazy ones, the cow manure and cow horns and all kinds of stuff, and they're all interesting things, but they forget the basics. And there's 4 principles really to biodynamics. The esoteric ones, which would be the preparations and the moon cycles, if I can call it that. But the other 2 are very basic approaches to farming, I would say. There's nothing out there. The first one is to see this farm as an individuality or as a whole. If you sent me, for example, an email, which for some reason I felt I had to print, once I've done with that printed piece of paper, I have a few options. If I couldn't care less, I'd simply chuck it in the bin. If I'm into sustainability, organic farmer or whatever, I put it in the recycled paper tray and have it recycled. But if I'm a biodynamic farmer and I go for self-sufficiency, I'll put that paper through a shredder, take that shredded paper, feed it to the earthworm farm, take the vermicastings and put that back in the vineyards. It's simple, it's not difficult, it's not hard, but it kind of makes sense on a very elemental level. And that to me is the essence and the core of biodynamics. And then the second one is this concept of the inherent value of things, and you make them applicable to your everyday decision making in the farm. So if you have plants that grow in your vineyards, they're not just weeds which compete for food and moisture and therefore should be removed or eradicated in the cheapest possible way. They're alive and they might have value which we don't necessarily understand or can commercially quantify. And you know what a dandelion looks like? It's a pretty hectic weed to get rid of. And then probably one of the biggest diseases we have in the vineyards in South Africa is a disease called leaf roll virus. And this spread through the saliva of a little insect called the mealybug. When I started working on vineyards, we used to spray pretty toxic stuff on the vines to try and kill these mealybugs who were spreading this disease. And once we started farming more with nature and having a bit more of a live and let live approach and respecting the inherent value of things, we saw a great proliferation of this dandelion. But what we did notice is that we had no more mealybug and no more spreading of leaf roll virus. And then one day the penny dropped and I pulled out a dandelion, and there they sat on the root of this dandelion. And that's the deal. That's their home. That's where they want to be. And they're cool there, and they don't cause any problems there or anything. But you think money, get rid of the weeds so I can get a bigger harvest, and all you do is get more poison to try and kill it there, and it's completely barking up the wrong tree. It's like this reactive, symptomatic approach, whereas one must rather be proactive and kind of, again, work with nature. It's like a spider's web. If you touch it here, you don't just touch it here, that whole spider web feels it all the way through. So the key is really to tread lightly, and the best way to tread lightly is to respect the inherent value of things. For me. Anyway, let's drink some more wine. Yeah. The hell with it. Do you like old wines? Can I show you some really special old wines? Come check this out. Let's find you a nice one. So on the left here you can see what babies look like. Now, they're like my daughters. You have to look after them all the time. If you don't, they're gonna basically die. Excuse me. In their 20s and 30s, they're like people. It's just fruit everywhere. But when they get really old, they get like Nelson Mandela, they become statesmen. They have substance, they have balance, they have character, they have structure. They don't have as much fruit, they're not economically viable, but they go to a whole different level of respect, and that is what you have here. So come and have a look. This is old vineyards. This is like antique stuff. There's not that many grapes. I can see the weevils. I've chowed some of my grapes. You can see there they've chowed them, so I need to get the chickens in here to sort out the weevils as well. But what I can tell you is that this wine from this vineyard, there won't be a lot of it, but it will be gold, a golden honey. You know, a few hundred years ago, a farmer had a good harvest, went on his or her knees and said thank you very much, you know. Today we have a good harvest, and I think it's so much N and P and K and trace elements or whatever we put down. And it's probably a bit of both, I don't know. But this works, as you can see, and it works really well. And some people say it's just the microbes in the solution. Others say, no, you're working, there's more to life than science. There is a spiritual element. And what you're doing is you're inviting that to heal your land and to be part of your farm. It comes from a different place. I didn't really choose wine or surfing, they kind of chose me. You can surf with a wave rather than against it. What you're going to find in our wine is just an expression of this place. That's all there is in our wine. It's these grapes and time. No yeast, no tricks, no experience, no skill, none of the other stuff. It's just love, passion, nature, happiness that kind of comes together, and what you get is a beautiful blossom. I'm not the same, 'cause now I can't change, so I guess I better go. All those nights wasted on the speed of sound, I still think that I just might come around for one more. All those nights wasted on the speed of sound,